Before we start, I would like to thank you all so much for 1,128 subscribers. I will not be able to record as often because of a whole bunch of IRL stuff. I hope that's okay. On to the story. Two Bird on a Wire by Freecraft on Loose. Read by Lily6645. This fic includes My Hero Academia levels of violence. That is your warning. Chapter 22. To the Rescue. Summary. Receiving a distress signal from one of their feathers, Izuku goes to the rescue while Keigo stays to keep watch over the sports festival. The second tournament is starting after a 5-minute break for the participants to gather their team while taking a short breather, and for Cementos to prepare the new arena. Izuku is especially interested in one team consisting of Hitoshi, Mei, Uraraka, and Tokoyami. Once Izuku sees the feral grin being passed among the team members, he knows that this year's cavalry battle will be one hell of a fight. When the second tournament begins, Izuku and Keigo stiffen. Izuku just received an emergency signal. Go. I'll stay and keep a lookout. Izuku nods and starts to fly away from the podium. Fumbling with his phone, Izuku calls Shoto. What is it, problem child? Shoto's voice is still full of boredom. Sir, we just received an emergency signal asking permission to leave the station. What are you waiting for? Go! The command was clear, and the urgency in Shota's voice gave away his worry. Yes, sir! Without even bothering to end the call, Izuku shoved his phone back into one of his many pockets. Putting more strength into his wings, Izuku flew through the sky faster than ever. As a strength type, Izuku is light, but among the avian, Izuku is heavy. This makes him slower than any other avian, but it also makes him more durable. Izuku, however, was able to recover his compromised speed by forcing most of his strength on his legs while running or wings while flying. By doing so, Izuku can achieve more speed in a short period. It may not be compared to Keigo, but he still takes it in a time like this. Izuku arrived in the emergency place in a record time. However, he can't celebrate just yet because down in the alley are Ingenium and Red Hood. There is also someone holding a jagged katana. Without much consideration, Izuku sent more than half of his feathers to distract the attacker before jumping down in front of the two. Emerald? Red Hood said in disbelief. Red Hood is a former vigilante. He got into heroics 1 year before the twins did. It's been a long time, Red Hood! Izuku returned and greeted as he stopped the bleeding. May I get a report? Izuku asked. Ingenium opened his mouth, but Red Hood beat him to it. We got paralyzed. Can't move, don't know what happened. It could be his quirk. That is all that Izuku needs to hear at the moment. Izuku nodded his head as he stood up and took out the 2 daggers they got permission to take in case of any emergency. Paralyzed quirk. What are the activation requirements? As his mind ran a mile a minute, Izuku focused on the man in front of him, who was still busy with his feathers. Izuku looked around to see many throwing knives scattered on the ground. Did his quirk create a blade with a paralyzing effect? That type of quirk is rare, but it is still a possibility. But if that's true, then the blade has to be on them for the effect to stay for long. Izuku glanced to his back to see some parts of Ingenium's armor being dyed red by his blood. Blood. Izuku's eyes widened. Blood-type quirk with paralyzing effect! If it's true, then I'll have to be careful. Izuku's preparation time ended as the man in front of him struck his last feather. Izuku tilted his head as he knew the man in front of him. Long time no see, Steindl. The man seemed to be offended, but he says nothing, just looking up at the sky.
Long time no see, Emerald. At least one of you survived, and it's Stain now.
No need to worry, Stain. Kay is still around. He just has something else to do at the moment. Stain let out a murderous aura. The three of them even clashed a few years ago when they just met Eraserhead, and seems like he is planning on finishing what they postponed before. Izuku had no plan for losing, though. Without any warning, they both dashed forward, the clashing between their blades leaving out some sparks. Akio was glad to see Emerald doing fine, though he wished they met in different circumstances. He is afraid the two of them will also drag the kid into his grave. But the scene in front of him telling him Emerald will be just fine. He can see nothing but a blur of red and green, accompanied by occasional sparks.
What?
Ida seemed to not be able to understand what happened either.
No need to worry, boss. We are in good hands.
Akio tried to move his hand one more time, and this time he was able to move his finger. Soon he was free from the quirk effects, and he stood back up. He checked his wound. Emerald just stopped the bleeding. If he were to fight, the wound would open again, but he wasn't even sure he could join the fight as he saw no opening between the two.
Boss, status? Still paralyzed.
Akio nodded his head and took out a flashbang.
It'll be fine.
Akio pulls out the pin and throws it at the two clashing blurs. They both manage to close their eyes, but he isn't sure about the two who are fighting. Once the light is gone and Akio opens his eyes, he sees Emerald still standing, albeit swaying, and Stain is down on the ground. When he sees Emerald patting his belt to retrieve a cuff, Akio remembers that the two winged vigilantes are very sensitive to light. Feeling guilty, he makes his way close to the kid.
I'll take it,
Akio said as he touched the cuff and not Emerald. Thank you. Emerald let go and proceeded to blink his eyes repeatedly. When Akio finished with the cuff, Emerald seemed to be able to make out what was in his surroundings. Let me take a look at your wounds. The police and paramedics will come shortly. Akio nodded as they both made their way back to Ida. He is now able to sit down. It's really a shame that Izuku missed the whole second tournament. Izuku must be disappointed he wasn't able to see the others' collaboration. Because of that, Keigo is now walking through the hallway into the cafeteria. He intended to welcome Izuku with his favorite katsudon, so they can eat and listen to Hitoshi's and Mei's feral story and the possibility of Tokiyami unlocking flight mode. But before he could reach his destination, he found someone who wasn't supposed to be there. Endeavor is talking to Todoroki. Todoroki obviously did not want to have this conversation with his father. Endeavor raised his hand, but before he could do anything, Keigo was already in front of him, shielding Todoroki with his wings.
I'm sorry, but this area is restricted to the participants and staff members only,
Keigo said firmly as he glared at the number 2 hero in front of him.
I'm here for my son.
Endeavor shot back and obviously did not want to back down.
Your son or not, you can't be here. Do you want to leave on your own, or do you want me to escort you?
Keigo asked. That obviously isn't just a simple question, but a threat, and Endeavor also knows it. The fire on him burned even brighter and hotter, but Keigo didn't even blink.
What is a criminal like you even doing here?
Seeing Endeavor bring up a past event, Keigo stands up straight. He still has some grudge against this fireman for making Izuku cry after all.
This criminal is being hired as one of the security for this event.
Keigo raised his hand and clenched his fist. The fire on Endeavor immediately gets extinguished. Both Todoroki's eyes widened, and Keigo looked down on the other Todoroki.
Leave, or do I have to escort you?
Keigo repeats himself, voice calm and all. Endeavor clicks his tongue but says nothing. As he leaves, he wasn't even looking back.
Fuck that dumpster fire,
Keigo said after Endeavor completely disappeared in the corner. Keigo turns around to see Todoroki still staring wide-eyed at him.
Hey, Todoroki, are you okay?
Yes, thank you.
No worries, though he is lucky to meet me instead of Zu. If he meets Zu, I'm sure he wouldn't walk out of here unharmed,
Keigo said, folding his arms. They both fell silent for a while before Todoroki broke it.
Keigo, are you perhaps Aizawa-sensei's secret love child?
The question Todoroki lets out is so absurd that all Keigo can do is blink his eyes. They both turn around as they hear laughter. Uncle Zashi is rolling on the ground, crying from laughing, while Shota is looking at them with wide eyes. Seems like he also had no idea how to respond to Todoroki's question. That is the end of chapter 20. On to the next chapter. Chapter 21. The Legacy. Summary. Class 1A chooses their hero name, which they will use for the rest of their career. On Monday, everyone is back in class after a day of rest. As usual, Izuku, Keigo, and Hitoshi are already in class early in the morning. Everyone who walks into the class can see that Izuku's wings are not as thick as they used to be, and they all also can see red feathers peeking between green.
Are you borrowing some of Keikun's feathers?
Kacchan asked, after staring at Izuku for a long minute.
Zu is cold.
I know, Kei's feathers are warmer. It's so unfair.
I mean, I'm supposed to be fire resistant, so of course my body temperature will be warmer than normal.
Keigo answered him with a shrug.
Who told you to break almost half your feathers again?
Hitoshi chimed in.
The occasion told me to. I didn't think I would ever get tired of chicken feet,
Izuku said as he placed his head on the table.
Yet you do,
Keigo and Hitoshi said at the same time, and Izuku let out a sigh. Kachan, Keigo, and Hitoshi laugh at Izuku's miserable expression. Izuku, on the other hand, keeps grumbling all the while.
Izuku-san!
They all turn to the door to see Ida standing there. They all watched as Ida makes his way closer to them and makes a 90-degree bow to Izuku. Izuku jumped up in surprise, knocking the chair down. Ida-kun! Izuku squeaked in surprise.
Thank you so much for helping my brother and Red Hood.
Pick your head up, Ida-kun! I did what anyone would have done. Besides, Red Hood is a friend of mine, and Shanima also helped us out when Kay and I were in a pinch a while ago, so you don't need to worry about that. Izuku tried to explain, but his voice was half frantic.
Still, thank you,
Ida said as he picked himself up, receiving a smile and a hug from Izuku. If it's anything, I'm just glad I could help. Sorry for breaking your moment, but Aizawa-sensei is about to be here, Keigo announced, and everyone runs back to their respective place. True to what Keigo said, Shota walks in a few seconds after everyone has settled down. Just like any other day, Shota walks in silence and placed himself before the class behind the podium. Shota swept the class, making an effort to make eye contact with every single one of them, scaring half the class. But Izuku and Keiko also saw the warmth in Aizawa's gaze.
Good job on this sports festival, Keigo and Izuku. Thanks for the help,
Shota said in his usual bored tone. The class let out a sigh of relief, since it turned out they didn't mess up. Keigo and Izuku gave Shota a mock salute, something they usually do before patrolling anyways, with a racerhead at the end of the patrol, prompting a few chuckles from those who can see them. Shota reached below the podium and retrieved a stack of dry boards and a handful of markers.
Today, you will decide what will be your hero names.
Some of the class started to bounce on their seat in excitement. Be careful! You don't want to be stuck with a dumb name like a certain someone. The door opens and Midnight walks in with a smirk, and Shota lets out a sigh.
Right. I'm not good with something like this, so Midnight will help you out.
Shota disappeared behind his desk. After passing the dry boards to everyone, Midnight is back in her spot beside Shota's desk. All right, cuties, now take your time and think of a proper name. If you got one, you can write it down and show it to the class. I will give it the final go.
Well, ours has practically been decided,
Keiko grumbled. Aizawa-sensei? Izuku raised from his seat. When he saw Shota's head peeking behind his desk, he tilted his head.
Sure, you have earned it. And your fame wouldn't let you go with any other name.
Ooh! Did the twins also stick with a name? We can help you if you want to. Midnight offers.
Thank you, Midnight-sensei, but it's all right,
Keigo answered her. Oh, don't be shy. We are really glad to help someone as bright as you.
No need to bother yourself. Their name is not dumb like mine.
You're no fun eraser, pretending to sleep but keeps on butting in. Shota gives her no answer, and Midnight seems to have expected this reaction, so she turns back to the class. Then, how about the two of you show us your name? It can be an inspiration for your other class members. The twins turn to each other and shrug. They both stand up and go to stand before the class. The two of them flipped their respective boards at the same time.
I will be known as Red Phoenix, Ruby, Keigo said. And I'll be known as Green Phoenix, Emerald, Izuku said. Together we are known as the Phoenix Duo,
the twins said at the same time.
Oh, really wasn't a stupid name. Huh, approved!
Midnight said, giving them 2 thumbs up.
Thank you,
the twins said with a bow before going back to their desks. Once the twins reached their desks, Kacchan stood up and walked to stand before the class. The twins' eyes widened as Kacchan flipped his board.
The explosion hero, Ground Zero,
Kacchan proudly announced.
Oh, the rhyme in it! Approved!
With a smirk, Kacchan comes back to the desk.
Kacchan, that is...
Izuku said, trailing off.
Yes, it's the name you two picked for me,
Kacchan said.
Should I also use the name of a gem?
Hitoshi asked.
That's up to you, Hinto-kun,
Kacchan answered him.
If you were to use gem as a hero name, what would it be? Izuku asked.
I was thinking along the lines of Whisper Amethyst or something,
Hitoshi said.
But don't you try it?
Keigo asked.
Sure.
With that, Hitoshi stands up and presents his chosen hero name.
Oh, mysterious. Still giving a hint to your quirk, but not explicit. Approved!
Midnight said. Hitoshi back to his desk with a grin on his face. After that, the rest of the class seemed to have gained their confidence and began to present their hero name one by one. And soon, almost everyone has their hero name. Now, there are only 2 people left, that is, Todoroki and Ida, who are walking towards the twins.
I apologize for bothering you, but could you help me with my name?
Ida asked.
I would like your help too, if that's not too much to ask.
Todoroki follows behind.
Sure. What kind of hero do you want to be?
Izuku asked.
My role model is always my big brother, so I want to be a great hero just like him.
Ida answered. That determination shone through.
I want to be a hero better than Endeavor,
Todoroki answered him. The twins fell into contemplation. They both racked their brains to come up with a proper name.
Then what about Freezeburn, the duality hero?
Keigo asked, pointing at Todoroki.
I will never use my fire,
Todoroki said.
You know you don't have to use fire to attack, right?
Keigo asked. Todoroki, who wanted to protest further, shut his mouth.
Your 2 sides act as countermeasures for each other. You have to use both, or you will kill yourself.
Keigo explained, and Todoroki was just silent.
There is no need for you to go big. Just use your fire to avoid hyperthermia. That is already enough,
Keigo said.
All right. I'll try. Thank you, Keigo,
Todoroki said as he went back to his desk.
The second speedster, Sonic,
Izuku said.
Cool, but why second?
Hitoshi asked.
Because the first is Ingenium, duh!
Izuku answered him.
Thank you, Izuku,
Ida said with a bow. That is the end of Chapter 21 of Two Bird on a Wire by Freecraft on Loose. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a good day, night, whatever time zone you're in. And thank you so much for the support. This is a longer video because I wanted to try to do something special for all of you. Thank you, kittens.